the silent nursery. The shelter was too quiet. That was the first thing they noticed. No crying, no movement, no sound of small feet or soft breaths. Only silence. The alien parents ran through the broken hallway, their claws shaking. The lights above flickered weakly, casting long shadows on the metal walls. Smoke hung in the air, thick and bitter. Somewhere far away, explosions echoed, but here there was nothing. The nursery door stood open. The mother stopped walking. Her heart felt heavy. She already knew what she would see. In war, empty rooms only meant one thing. She closed her eyes for a moment, bracing herself for pain that would never leave. The father stepped forward slowly. They expected blood. They expected broken cradles. They expected death. Instead, they saw something impossible. A human sat on the floor. He leaned against the wall, his back pressed to cold metal. His armor was damaged, cracked open at the chest. Dark blood stained his uniform. His head hung low, as if he had no strength left. But on his bare chest, their babies slept. 3 small alien infants lay curled against the human skin. Their tiny hands gripped his shirt. Their breathing was slow and calm. Soft, peaceful. The mother gasped quietly. The father froze in shock. This was wrong. This should not exist. Humans were enemies. Humans were loud. Humans were violent. Every story the galaxy told about them said the same thing. Humans destroy first and ask later. Yet this one did not move. His arms were wrapped around the babies, forming a shield. One hand gently rested on their backs, rising and falling with each breath. His body was warm, warmer than the broken shelter, warmer than the cold night outside. The babies slept deeply. Not a single one cried. The mother's legs felt weak. Her mind struggled to understand what her eyes were seeing. She took one slow step forward. The floor creaked under her weight. The human opened his eyes. They were tired eyes, old eyes, eyes that had seen too much. He looked at them, but he did not raise a weapon. He did not shout. He only lifted one finger to his lips. Quiet, he whispered. The word was soft, gentle. The mother felt something tighten in her chest. The sound of his voice was not cruel. It was careful, like he was afraid of waking the children. The father's claws twitched. Every instinct screamed danger. Humans could not be trusted. This could be a trap. Outside the shelter, mechanical sounds grew louder. Enemy drones. They were searching. The human heard them too. His jaw tightened, but he did not move away from the babies. Instead, he shifted slightly, turning his body, so he stood between the door and the sleeping children, as if his own body was a wall. The drone's lights flashed through the broken doorway. Red beams scanned the room. One sound, one movement, and they would all be dead. The mother held her breath. The babies stirred. One of them made a small sound, a soft whimper. The human lowered his head and hummed. It was not a song with words, just a low sound, steady and slow. His chest rose and fell beneath the infants. His warmth surrounded them. The baby relaxed. The drones paused. Seconds felt like hours. Then the red lights moved away. The machines left. Silence returned. The human exhaled slowly, his shoulders shaking from pain. Blood seeped from his wounds, but he did not look down. He looked only at the babies. "They're safe," he said quietly. The mother could no longer stay still. She stepped forward again, her eyes filled with tears she did not understand. "Why?" she asked. The human looked up at her. For a moment, he seemed surprised she spoke. "Because they were cold," he replied. That was all. No speech, no reason, no orders. Just that. The father stared at him in disbelief. "You stayed," he said. "You could have left." The human nodded. "Yeah. Why didn't you?" The human looked down at the sleeping children again. One baby had curled closer, pressing its head against his heart. "Someone had to stay," he said. The mother's hands trembled as she reached out. The human shifted carefully, slowly lifting the babies and placing them into her arms. They did not wake. They trusted the warmth. When the last baby left his chest, the human's body sagged. He pressed his back harder against the wall, breathing heavy. The parents held their children tightly. They had entered the nursery ready to find death. Instead, they found something far more dangerous to their beliefs. They found a human who did not act like a monster. and nothing in the galaxy would ever feel the same again. Humans were feared for a reason. The parents did not leave the shelter right away. They could not. The hallway outside the nursery was dark, and the sound of distant machines echoed through the metal walls. Every step outside meant danger. Every second inside felt like borrowed time. The mother held the babies close. She could still feel the warmth from the human's chest on their small bodies. The babies slept peacefully, unaware that death had passed so close. The father stood between the human and the door. He did not lower his guard. Humans were not heroes. The galaxy had learned that lesson long ago. Wars followed humans. Entire cities burned after their arrival. Stories spoke of humans who laughed in battle and smiled while destroying worlds. No one trusted them. No one stayed near them unless forced. And yet, this human had stayed. The human shifted slightly against the wall. His face was pale now. Blood soaked deeper into his clothing. One of his hands pressed against his side, tried to stop the bleeding. "You should go," he said quietly. The father frowned. "Why?" The human did not look up. "Because they'll come back." As if summoned by his words, a sharp mechanical sound cut through the air. Closer this time. The drones had returned. The shelter lights flickered again, then dimmed. Emergency power kicked in, bathing the hallway in red light. The babies stirred in their mother's arms, but did not cry. The human slowly pushed himself to his feet. He should not have been able to stand. His legs shook. His breathing was rough. But still, he moved in front of them, placing his body between the family and the door. The father's eyes widened. "You can't fight them like this." The human gave a weak smile. "I don't need to win." That answer made no sense. The mechanical sounds grew louder. Metal claws scraped against the floor. The drones were searching room by room now. They would find the nursery soon. The mother whispered, "Why are you doing this?" The human did not answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "Because once someone did it for me." The drones reached the door. Red scanning lights cut across the room. One beam passed over the human's chest, then over the mother, then the babies. The human raised his hands slowly, not in surrender, but to draw attention. "Here," he said loudly. "I'm here." The drones reacted instantly. Weapons powered up. The father stepped forward without thinking. "Stop." The human glanced back. His eyes were sharp now, focused. "Take them and run," he said. "Down the service tunnel. Third door on the left." "How do you know?" the father asked. "I helped build this place," the human replied. The drones fired. The human moved. He did not run. He stepped forward, straight into the red light, forcing the machines to focus on him alone. Energy blasts slammed into the wall behind him. Smoke filled the room. The father grabbed the mother's arm. "Now!" They ran. The tunnel was narrow and dark. The mother's heart pounded as she clutched the babies. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed. Metal tearing, explosions, the deep impact of weapons. Then a scream. Human. The tunnel shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The babies finally cried. The parents did not stop running. They burst out of the shelter minutes later into the cold night air. Emergency lights from evacuation ships lit the sky. Other survivors stared as the parents arrived, alive with all their children. "Where did you find them?" someone asked. The mother did not answer. She looked back at the shelter entrance. Smoke poured out. The father clenched his fists. "He stayed behind," he said softly. "Who?" another survivor asked. "A human." The word caused murmurs. Fear. Anger. "A human was inside," someone shouted. "We need to leave now." The shelter collapsed behind them with a deep roar. Silence followed. The mother's knees gave out. She knelt on the ground, holding the babies close. Her tears fell freely now. "He saved them," she whispered. No one replied. Far above, the evacuation ship doors closed. Engines powered up. The planet began to fall away beneath them. But the parents did not feel relief. They felt something worse. Guilt. Because somewhere in the ruins below, a wounded human had chosen to stand alone, so children that were not his could live. And deep inside, the parents understood something terrifying. If even one human could do this, then everything the galaxy believed about humanity might be wrong. The choice that changed everything. The evacuation ship moved away from the planet. Below them, the shelter burned. The mother pressed her forehead against the cold glass of the viewing window. Fire spread across the surface like glowing veins. Smoke rose into the dark sky. She could not look away. The father stood behind her, holding one of the babies. The child cried softly, restless, as if sensing something was wrong. "He is gone," the father said. The words felt heavy. Final. The mother closed her eyes. Her arms tightened around the other two babies. They were alive, warm, safe, because of a human. The ship shook suddenly. Alarms flashed red. "Impact warning," a voice shouted. The crew rushed to their stations. On the main screen, a signal appeared. Weak, broken, but real. A life sign, coming from the ruins. The captain frowned. "That's impossible." The shelter collapsed. The mother's head snapped up. "Show it again." The signal flickered. Human biosignature. The room fell silent. "A human?" someone asked. Fear spread quickly. "Old memories. Old wars." "We can't go back," an officer said. "It's a trap." The mother stepped forward. Her voice shook, but it was strong. "He went back for us." No one replied. The captain looked at the screen, then at the babies in her arms. He hesitated. Fuel was low. The enemy could return at any moment. Going back could kill them all. The father moved beside her. "We owe him," he said simply. The captain exhaled slowly. "Turn the ship around," he ordered. The engines roared. They descended into fire and smoke. The ruins were worse than before. Metal beams lay twisted like broken bones. The air was thick with ash. Emergency lights flickered weakly under the rubble. The rescue team moved carefully. Then they saw him. The human lay pinned under a collapsed wall. His armor was gone now, burned away. His body was badly injured. One leg was crushed. His breathing was shallow. But he was alive. Barely. One rescuer raised a weapon on instinct. "No," the mother said sharply. The human's eyes opened slowly. He looked confused, then afraid. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. The father knelt beside him. "So should you." The human tried to move. Pain crossed his face, but he did not cry out. "Did they get out?" he asked. The mother nodded. "They are safe." The human closed his eyes. Relief washed over his face. "Good," he said. That was when the ground shook again. Enemy ships entered the atmosphere. The rescue team froze. "We don't have time," the captain said over the comm. "We need to leave now." The father looked at the human, then at the mother. If they carried him, they would be slower. If they left him, they would survive. The choice was clear and cruel. The human heard the engines. He understood. Humans were good at reading silence. "Leave me," he said. "You've done enough." The mother shook her head. She remembered the nursery, the warmth, the quiet breathing. She stepped forward and removed her outer cloak. Gently, she placed it over the human's chest. "You stayed," she said. "Now we stay." The father nodded. Together, they lifted the human. He cried out in pain, but did not pull away. Enemy fire struck the ruins. Debris rained down. The rescue team ran, carrying the human between them. Shots followed them. Explosions tore the ground apart. They reached the ship just as the ramp began to close. The human lost consciousness in the mother's arms. The ship lifted off under heavy fire. Silence followed. In the medical bay, machines beeped softly. The babies were brought in. The moment the human was placed on the bed, something strange happened. The babies stopped crying. They turned their heads. They reached out. The medical team watched in shock as the infants calmed, their small hands stretching toward the unconscious human. One doctor whispered they recognized him. The mother felt tears fall. The father spoke softly, words that would echo in his mind forever. He chose them first. The human's heartbeat steadied. Outside the ship, stars stretched into lines as they jumped to safety. Behind them, the burning planet faded into darkness. And with it, the old belief that humans only brought death. Because one human had chosen to stay. And that choice changed everything. The truth the galaxy tried to bury. The human did not wake for 3 days. Machines surrounded his bed. Soft lights blinked. Tubes and wires covered his broken body. Every breath he took sounded like work. The doctors were not hopeful. "He should not be alive," one said quietly. The mother sat beside the bed, holding one of the babies. The child slept peacefully, its small chest rising and falling. The others rested nearby, calm and warm. Only when they were close to the human did they stay this calm. On the fourth day, the human opened his eyes. Slowly, pain filled his body, but he did not scream. He tried to sit up. The alarms went wild. "Easy," the doctor said. "You're safe." The human looked around, confused. "The kids," he whispered. "They are here," the mother said softly. He turned his head. His eyes met the baby's. Relief washed over his face. Then his expression changed. "Fear. You shouldn't have brought me," he said. The father frowned. "Why?" The human closed his eyes. "Because they will come for me." Those words sent a chill through the room. Later that day, the truth arrived. A secure message reached the ship. It was marked Human Military Command. The captain watched the file in silence. Inside were orders, names, dates. The human on the bed was listed as MIA, abandoned. His mission was never rescue. It was containment. He had been sent to the planet to test enemy weapons. When a mission failed, command pulled out. They left him behind. One final note into the file. If survivor remains alive, do not retrieve. The captain's hand shook. This human was erased, he said. The father felt anger rise. His own people left him to die. Yes, the captain replied. Because he disobeyed orders. The mother looked at the sleeping babies. What orders? The captain hesitated. He was told to evacuate humans only. He stayed for alien children. Silence filled the room. That night, the ship was surrounded. Human warships dropped out of hyperspace. Weapons locked on. A voice echoed through the ship. This is human command. Surrender the asset. The mother held the babies tighter. The father stepped forward. He is not an asset. He is a person. The voice did not care. He is classified. Return him or be fired upon. The human listened from his bed. He smiled weakly. I told you, he said. They don't forgive. The captain turned to him. What did you do? The human stared at the ceiling. I chose wrong, he said. I chose life. Human Marines boarded the ship. They moved fast. Professional. Cold. When they reached the medical bay, they stopped. The babies were on the human's chest. Asleep. One Marine whispered, What the hell? The human looked at them. You here to finish it? The commander stepped forward. You broke protocol. I know. You protected non-humans. I know. You made us look weak. The human slowly placed a hand over the babies. Then be stronger. The commander hesitated. He had never seen this before. Not fear. Not anger. Trust. The babies slept on a human they were not born to. Calm. Safe. The mother spoke. Her voice was steady. He saved them. If you take him, you take us all. The room filled with tension. Weapons stayed lowered. The commander finally spoke. Command won't like this. The captain replied, The galaxy is watching. The commander looked at the human one last time. Stand down, he ordered. The Marines left. The warships retreated. For the first time in history, human command pulled back. Not because of weapons, but because of truth. The human closed his eyes again, exhausted. The mother whispered, They tried to bury you. He smiled faintly. Guess they failed. Outside the ship, news spread fast. A human had disobeyed orders. A human had saved alien children. And the galaxy had just seen what humanity could be when it chose compassion over command. The debt the galaxy could not ignore. The news spread faster than any ship. A human had saved alien babies. A human had disobeyed his own command. A human had been marked for erasure and survived. Across star systems, screens lit up. Most did not believe it. Humans were destroyers. Humans were soldiers. Humans were not gentle. That was the story the galaxy had told itself for generations. But this story did not fit. The parents were called before the Galactic Council. They stood in a vast chamber of glass and light. Species from dozens of worlds watched them in silence. Some looked curious. Others looked afraid. The babies were brought forward. They were calm. Always calm. At the center of the chamber, the human sat in a medical chair. He was still weak. Still healing. Guards stood nearby. Not to protect the council from him, but to protect him from the council. The high speaker leaned forward. You claim a human saved your children. The mother did not raise her voice. He did. Why? the speaker asked. The mother paused. Then she answered truthfully, "We do not know." A ripple of confusion moved through the chamber. The father stepped forward. He did not ask who they were. He did not ask what they would become. He only knew they were small and cold. The council grew restless. One delegate stood. "Humans kill without reason." The human finally spoke. "Sometimes," he said, "so does the galaxy." Silence slammed into the chamber. The high speaker frowned. "You're not on trial." The human shook his head. "Then neither are they." He gestured to the babies. That moment was broadcast. Across planets. Across species. Some watched in anger. Others in disbelief. And some felt shame. The council delayed its judgment. Outside the chamber, crowds gathered. Protesters shouted. Supporters stood quietly. For the first time in living memory, aliens argued to protect a human. The parent stayed by his side. Days later, the human's condition worsened. His injuries had gone too deep. His body was failing. Doctors worked nonstop. Still, their faces grew darker with each hour. "He needs human-level care," one doctor said. "We don't have the equipment." The father clenched his fists. "Then we bring it." "But human command will never allow it," the captain replied. The mother looked down at the babies. "They will," she said. The parents sent a message. Not to governments. Not to armies. They sent it to the people. The message showed the nursery. The human's wounded body. The baby's sleeping on his chest. And one simple line, "He chose our children. Now we choose him." The response was instant. Human civilians flooded the channels. Doctors volunteered. Engineers offered ships. Former soldiers spoke out. Human command tried to shut it down. They failed. A civilian medical fleet arrived within hours. The human opened his eyes as new machines powered on. "Guess I'm in trouble again," he joked weakly. The mother smiled through tears. "You are." The operation lasted 12 hours. Outside, ships from many species formed a silent circle around the medical vessel. No one fired. No one moved. They waited. When the doctor finally emerged, the entire fleet held its breath. "He will live," the doctor said. The silence broke. Cheers. Cries. Relief. The father bowed his head. "The debt is paid." The high speaker's voice echoed across the network later that day. "The galaxy owes this human more than thanks. It owes him change." New laws followed. Human-only evacuation orders were banned. Civilian protection treaties were rewritten. And for the first time ever, a human was granted universal protector status. The human heard this from his bed. He laughed softly. All that trouble for holding a few kids. The mother placed the babies beside him. "They slept," she said, "because they trusted you." The human closed his eyes. Outside, the galaxy shifted. Not because of war, not because of power, but because one human had made a simple choice. And the galaxy could no longer ignore the cost of that kindness. When the babies remembered him, the human healed slowly. Bones mended. Burns faded. Scars remained. Doctors said his body would recover, but something else worried them more. Since the operation, the babies had changed. They cried. Not loud cries. Not pain cries. Lost cries. The mother tried everything. Warm blankets. Soft light. Gentle songs from her home world. The babies slept only for moments before waking again, reaching out with small hands, searching. The father stood by helplessly. "They are safe," he said. "Why do they still cry?" The doctors had no answer. The babies ate well. Their bodies were strong, but their eyes kept turning toward the door of the medical room. Waiting, the human noticed first. He sat quietly on the bed, watching them. His heart ached in a way no wound could explain. "They're looking for something," he said. The mother swallowed. "They are looking for you." The room went silent. The doctors exchanged uneasy glances. This made no sense. Humans and alien infants had no natural bond. No shared biology. No reason for this connection. It was there. They brought the babies closer. At first, nothing happened. Then one baby reached out. Its small hand touched the human's chest. The crying stopped. All three babies grew quiet. Their breathing slowed. Their bodies relaxed. The human froze. He barely breathed. The babies crawled forward on weak limbs, pressing themselves against him. They rested their heads where his heartbeat was strongest. Sleep came instantly. The machines around the bed steadied. One doctor whispered, "This is not possible." The mother covered her mouth with shaking hands. Tears streamed down her face. "They remember," she said. The father lowered his head. He was their first warmth. From that moment on, the pattern was clear. The babies would not sleep unless the human was near. Not in another room. Not behind glass. Near. The council was informed. Concerns rose quickly. "This creates dependency," one delegate warned. "Humans are unstable," said another. The mother stood firm. So is fear. The human finally spoke. "If I'm the problem, I'll leave." The babies cried again the moment he shifted. The council fell silent. Days passed. The human learned how to hold them properly. He sat still for hours, letting them sleep on his chest. He told them quiet stories in a low voice. Stories of stars, of long nights, of finding light in dark places. He never used words they could understand, but they listened. Outside the room, guards watched in silence. They had seen humans fight. They had seen humans kill. They had never seen this. The news reached distant systems. Footage spread. A human, scarred and tired, acting as a cradle. Public opinion shifted again. Not fast, but enough. Then came the warning. A radical group threatened the medical ship. They claimed the human was corrupting alien bloodlines. They demanded the babies be removed. Security tightened. One night, alarms screamed. The medical bay lights cut out. Emergency power engaged. The human sat up instantly, pulling the babies close. His body moved on instinct, placing himself between them and the door. The attackers breached the outer hull. Shots echoed through the ship. The mother ran toward the medical bay, fear crushing her chest. She burst inside. The human stood in the center of the room, unarmed, shielding the babies with his body. Blood ran down his arm from a fresh wound. Still, he did not move. Security forces arrived moments later, driving the attackers back. Silence returned. The mother rushed forward. "You're hurt." The human looked down at the babies. "They're fine," he said. That was all that mattered to him. The next day, the council made its decision. The high speaker addressed the galaxy. "These children have chosen their protector." A pause. "We will not take that away." The human did not smile. He only looked at the babies sleeping peacefully on his chest. He had fought wars. He had faced death. Nothing had ever felt heavier than this responsibility, and nothing had ever felt more right. Humanity's name was rewritten. The galaxy did not change all at once. Change never does. At first, there were only small things. One world removed its ban on human ships. Another allowed humans to walk its cities without guards. A third rewrote its emergency laws. None of them said why, but everyone knew. The medical ship became a place of pilgrimage. Diplomats, scholars, and soldiers came to see the human who had become a cradle. They expected strength. They expected danger. They found patience. The human spent most days sitting quietly. The babies rested on his chest, rising and falling with his breath. When they slept, the room felt warm, even in the cold of space. He never asked for recognition. When the council offered him titles, he refused them all. "I didn't save the galaxy," he said. "I just didn't walk away." The babies grew. Slowly. They learned his voice before they learned words. When they were afraid, they reached for him. When they were calm, they slept on him. The mother watched this with wonder and fear. One day, she said softly, "They will not need you." The human nodded. That's how it's supposed to be. But fate was not finished. A year later, a crisis came. A border world faced extinction. Its children were trapped beneath a failing dome. Toxic air leaked in. Evacuation ships were delayed. No human forces were assigned. Then a message appeared on the public network. A simple offer. "Send me." The council hesitated. Sending him meant risk. Losing him meant backlash. The babies were brought into the chamber. Now older. Walking. Watching. The father spoke. He taught them courage without words. The mother added, "If the galaxy truly changed, it will let him choose." The human knelt before the children. "I'll come back," he said. They touched his face and let him go. The rescue succeeded. Children lived. No shots were fired. When he returned, the babies ran to him. Across the galaxy, something shifted. Humans were no longer introduced as threats. They were introduced as possible allies. Schools taught the story, not of war, but of a choice. A single moment, a silent nursery, a human who stayed. Years later, the humans stood quietly as the children addressed the council for the first time. They were not afraid. They spoke clearly. "We are alive," one said, "because someone we were taught to fear chose to love." The chamber stood in silence. The high speaker finally spoke. "History will remember this moment." The human shook his head. "No," he said gently. "History will remember them." He looked at the children. "They're the proof." That night, the galaxy recorded a new phrase into its shared archives. Not law, not command, a truth. Humanity is not defined by the harm it can cause, but by the lives it chooses to protect. In the quiet of the stars, the human sat once more, older now, slower. The children leaned against him, not because they needed him, but because they wanted to. And that was the greatest victory of all.